Most people treat eye color like an accessory, something you're born with and never think about again. But your iris is closer to equipment than decoration, a biological setting shaped by the world your ancestors had to survive. More than 70% of humans have brown eyes. The remaining 30% carry variations, genetic changes that spread through populations and quietly recorded a story of migration, adaptation, and evolution. So let's read that story, one eye color at a time. Here's the key idea before we begin. Your eye color isn't a simple paint job. It comes down to melanin, the pigment in your iris, plus the iris's structure, which controls how light is absorbed and how it bounces back out. That's why some colors are pigment heavy, and others exist mostly because light is being scattered in very specific ways. Now, start with the original default setting for humans. Brown eyes aren't common by coincidence. They're built for bright worlds. The rich color comes from melanin, and in the iris, it can absorb up to 90% of incoming light. According to researchers, melanin isn't just color, it behaves like natural sunscreen inside the eye. Imagine early humans moving across open landscapes, like the African savanna under relentless UV radiation. In that environment, melanin wasn't about appearance, it was protection. Melanin helps soak up harmful ultraviolet energy before it can damage DNA and eye cells, and it doesn't only protect, it changes performance. Because melanin absorbs rather than scattering light, brown-eyed people tend to experience less glare sensitivity and clearer vision in intense daylight. That's one reason brown eyes are especially dominant in populations closer to the equator. And brown eyes usually stay visually steady, deep, and uniform. But in candlelight, or when the sun sits low, you might spot brief golden or honey sparks near the outer iris. That's not the eye changing color, it's the layered architecture of the iris revealing itself as light skims across it. Now let's turn the melanin dial way down until color starts coming from physics. Here's one of the most dramatic claims in human genetics. Every blue-eyed person on Earth can be traced back to a single ancestor who lived roughly 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. Research published in Human Genetics linked blue eyes to a mutation in the HERC2 gene that essentially shut down the usual production of brown pigment. In the story told by that research, before this change, humans had brown eyes. And the strangest part? Blue eyes are not blue the way a blue object is blue. There is no blue pigment in the iris. Instead, blue eyes contain almost no melanin. When light enters, shorter blue wavelengths scatter back out, while longer wavelengths pass through, similar to the effect that makes the sky look blue. It's a structural trick, not a dye. That's also why blue eyes can appear to shift, icy bright in one room, soft gray in another, because lighting changes the scattering. Scientists place the spread of this mutation around the Neolithic expansion as humans moved from the Black Sea region into northern Europe. But then comes the question that keeps returning. Why did blue eyes explode in frequency? In just a few thousand years, blue eyes went from nearly absent to 70%, even 95% in northern Europe. Two main explanations are often discussed. Dim light advantage. With minimal melanin blocking light, more photons may reach the retina, potentially improving vision during long northern winters. Sexual selection. When a trait is rare and visually striking, mate preference can spread it quickly. And ancient DNA added a twist that forced researchers to rethink old assumptions. Some early Europeans had blue eyes paired with dark, African-like skin, showing that lighter eyes appeared before widespread skin lightening. That undermined the idea that blue eyes were simply a byproduct of pale skin adaptation. If blue eyes are the low melanin version, gray eyes are that idea taken to an extreme. Gray eyes are exceptionally uncommon, found in under 3% of people worldwide. They typically contain very low melanin, creating a scattering effect that spreads across multiple wavelengths, not just the blue range. That's why gray can look like steel, silver, slate, sometimes even slightly green, depending on the environment. Functionally, researchers suggest gray eyes may have emerged as an extreme adjustment to low light, living in places like Northern Europe, where overcast skies and limited sunlight were constant challenges. Culturally, gray eyes have a reputation for being unreadable. With less obvious color warmth and variation, people often associate them with wisdom, emotional restraint, or distance, an idea that shows up again and again across societies. But there's a cost to that low melanin. Like blue eyes, gray eyes can share higher UV vulnerability, which makes sun protection more important over a lifetime. Now to a color so rare that entire belief systems tried to explain it. Only about 2% of the world has green eyes, making them the rarest common eye color. They're uncommon because they require a very specific genetic recipe involving at least 16 genes working in balance. Too much melanin, and the eyes red as brown. Too little, and they read as blue. Green eyes sit in that narrow middle ground, moderate melanin plus a yellow pigment called lipochrome. Under the right light, that combination produces the green hue people recognize instantly. Green eyes are also famous for their shifting look. Research describes them as highly sensitive to environmental changes, appearing mossy in shadow, more golden green in bright light, and sometimes drifting toward hazel or blue-gray, depending on surrounding colors and even clothing. That dynamic look is exactly why folklore grabbed onto them. In medieval Europe, green eyes were sometimes tied to witchcraft and supernatural ability. In Greek mythology, they were believed to carry special powers. Even today, green eyes get linked to mystery, intuition, and creativity. From an evolutionary angle, green eyes may have offered flexibility in temperate regions, forests, mountains, variable lighting, providing a balance between UV protection and light sensitivity. Genetically, green eyes are described as especially common in Celtic and Germanic ancestry, particularly in Ireland and Scotland, where up to 86% of people have blue or green eyes. And if green eyes feel like they react to the world, hazel eyes practically perform. Hazel eyes are the ultimate chameleons. Unlike most eye colors, hazel eyes can genuinely swing in appearance depending on light, clothing, and surroundings. Scientifically speaking, intermediate melanin plus traces of lipochrome interact differently across lighting conditions. So hazel can go green, then gold, then brown, sometimes in the same day. This chameleon quality reflects what hazel represents on the melanin spectrum: versatility. Not too dark, not too light, well suited for mixed environments with changing seasons and inconsistent lighting. About 5% of the global population has hazel eyes, with higher concentrations in people of European and Middle Eastern ancestry. And hazel is unpredictable. Two hazel-eyed people can have completely different maps in the iris, rings, bursts, flecks, making it one of the most visually variable eye types in humans. Historically, that variability has fed the idea that hazel eyes look expressive or mysterious. Now, for a color so rare, it's often mislabeled until you see it clearly. Amber eyes are rare enough that people often mistake them for hazel or light brown, but they're distinct, appearing in less than 5% of people. Biologically, amber eyes contain high levels of lipochrome and very little melanin, creating a solid, golden, copper, or honey-toned iris that stays remarkably consistent. Unlike hazel, amber tends not to change much with lighting. This color is common in certain predatory animals, wolves, owls, eagles, which may explain why amber eyes can feel instinctively intense or commanding. Some researchers suggest humans may subconsciously associate this look with alertness and confidence, potentially creating subtle social advantages. Evolutionarily, amber eyes are suggested to have spread less through environmental necessity and more as a visual signal, reinforced by mate preference. Genetically, amber eyes are often found in individuals of Southern European, Asian, or South American descent, though they can appear anywhere with the right gene combinations. Next is a color people name confidently, even though it isn't actually its own pigment category. True black eyes virtually don't exist as a separate natural eye color category in the way people imagine. What looks black is usually extremely dark brown, so packed with melanin that the iris appears almost black. That level of melanin makes these eyes exceptionally good at absorbing incoming light, which can reduce glare and increase comfort in very bright environments. In equatorial regions where sunlight is intense and constant, that can be a real advantage. Studies suggest darker eyes tend to filter harsh light more efficiently and stay more visually consistent across different lighting. With less light bouncing around inside the iris, the color reads deeper and doesn't vary as much as lighter eyes sometimes can. Culturally, black eyes are often linked to mystery and strength. One practical reason is simple. When the iris is very dark, subtle pupil and contrast changes can be harder to notice, so emotions can seem less readable from the outside. These extremely dark eyes are common in populations from Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. And now, the rarest chapter, when symmetry breaks. Heterochromia is when someone has two differently colored eyes, or clear variation within one iris. It affects less than 1% of the population, making it extremely rare. In most people, melanin spreads evenly across both irises during development. Heterochromia happens when that symmetry is disrupted, often because of minor genetic mutations, mosaicism, or small localized changes early in development. Historically, heterochromatic eyes have been treated as signs of duality, supernatural connection, or divine favor across different cultures, possibly because they violate something our brains expect: facial symmetry. Your eye color carries the memory of environments your ancestors endured: sun-scorched plains, gray northern skies, forests with shifting light, and the migrations that stitched human populations together. From melanin-rich brown eyes built for heavy UV, to a single blue-eyed mutation that swept through parts of Europe, to rare shades like gray, green, hazel, amber. And the extraordinary imprint of heterochromia, each iris is a chapter of evolution. So, next time you look in the mirror, don't just see a color. See a survival record, plus the genetic lottery that produced you. What color are your eyes? And do they look different under different lighting? Tell me in the comments. And if you want part 2, we'll explore what eye color can and can't suggest about light sensitivity and visual performance.